Hello there. Victor Kunda Mwala here, lending my voice to the mine safety situation in Zambia. I'm currently serving as a global marketing and business development manager for a global automation conglomerate that serves a wide variety of industries, but my main focus is in the mining space to make sure that our mining customers are conducting their businesses in a very sustainable, safer, and smart way. In this particular situation, I'm not speaking on behalf of any entities I'm affiliated with. I'm speaking as a Zambian. I was born and raised in Kitwe. I was fortunate enough to be selected for a mining scholarship through the ZCCM Telembe Secondary School Form 6 program. I was sent to study mining engineering in the United States, and I've been working in the mining space for the last decade and a half. So I would like to lend my voice to the industry and to the people that I love dearly. Um, so when it comes to mine safety, I think, as many of you know, safety is not just a priority because priorities do change. Safety is a value. It never changes. The importance of safety in mining or in any industrial space, for that matter, it never changes. So that has to be the number one value in any business for that matter, especially in the mining space. The most recent tragedy that happened in Chingola, where miners were engulfed, I'm not sure whether or not those miners were mining at that site legally or illegally, but that's besides the point. The issue is that lives were lost, and there has to be accountability and responsibility on so many levels, from the mine operator perspective, from the miners themselves, and also from the governance side, in terms of enforcing mine safety regulations. So when it comes to mine design, when I started in the mining industry, I started out as a mine planning engineer. I went into supervision, mine superintendent, and eventually was, plant manager, general manager, whatever you may call it. But regardless of the role that I played, mine safety was always number one. I've worked for a few best-in-class mining companies, such as Rio Tinto, Freeport-McMoran, to just mention a few. And these are companies that have very robust safety programs. Now, when you find a mining deposit, you find a copper deposit in this situation, the number one priority is obviously to excavate and recover that mineral in a very safe and efficient manner. So when it comes to excavation, there's always geotechnical risks. And so those geotechnical risks have to be taken into account all the time, whether it's an open pit mine, especially an underground mine, because if geotechnical considerations are not taken into account, there's risk of engulfment on the miners. And you've seen, and you may have heard or read about significant slope failures in some open pit mines. And unfortunately, sometimes there's significant tailings failures, which unfortunately claim people's lives. That's not acceptable. It's not acceptable in Zambia, it's not acceptable in Brazil, it's not acceptable in the United States, it's not acceptable in China. So in the case of the mine operations in Chingola, I think the number one responsibility to make sure that that mine site is safe is the operator. The owner of the business has to make sure that that place is safe. What do I mean by that? That place has to be secured. That place has to be fenced to make it very difficult for unauthorized miners to get access to that place. I'm not condoning people trespassing into mine sites where they are not authorized to be, but the owner of the mine site has to fence it to make it a lot more difficult. And in some situations, they have to have security to make sure that they keep unauthorized people, unauthorized miners, call them what you want, out of that space. I think from an enforcement perspective, when it comes to mine safety, I would like to believe there are a lot of good mine regulation laws in the Constitution of Zambia. Occupational health, I truly believe, has been a core value of the mining industry in Zambia, all the way back from ZCCM and other conglomerates that existed before ZCCM. But I think there's quite a bit of lax in terms of enforcement from the government side. Here in the United States, if I am running an operation, let's say in Texas, as operations manager, I own 100% accountability, the safety of my workers. No ifs and buts. And the commitment I made to the miners that were working for me is that I am not going to let them work in a space that I cannot work myself. That's the commitment the manager of that mine site should make to himself. That's the commitment the manager of that mine site should make to the community. Because at the end of the day, if somebody is sending miners to a place where they themselves cannot perform work, I think that level of inconsistency and it's not the right way to conduct business. That's the number one responsibility and liability and accountability. That's where it needs to be. Secondly, like I mentioned, the government needs to step up enforcement. They need to issue stiff penalties. They need to conduct inspections every year, a couple times a year, 3 times a year, depending on how much risk is at our operation. The government needs to step up. When it comes to miners themselves, I think nobody should go into a business that they don't know the ins and outs of, especially on the safety front. So these are the 3 legs of one stool that really need to own safety. If one of these 3 legs of a stool do not own safety, I think we're going to keep having these tragedies. These tragedies are absolutely preventable. All risks are absolutely manageable. In any workspace, we shouldn't be accepting risk as part of the business. That paradigm needs to change. Another dimension that we really just need to think about as citizens of Zambia is that unemployment is too high, and so people are going to hazardous length to try and earn a living. I'm not condoning that, but I think once the economy is up and running, once people have meaningful vocations outside of risking their lives, I think we're going to see a decrease in people taking risky behaviors in order to earn a living. So we really need to look into, as Zambians, we need to own this. As mine operators, as government, as miners themselves, we cannot be having these tragedies every so many years. This is not the first time there's been a tragedy of this magnitude in the mining space. 5 years ago, there was another tragedy at the Black Mountain. 11 miners lost their lives. You may want to call them illegal miners, this, that, or the other. That's besides the point. 11 Zambians lost their lives. And now we have, I'm told, well over 30 Zambians losing their lives doing a similar type of business. That has to stop. My countrymen and women, let's put our heads together. Let's make mine safety a core value of the Zambian mining enterprise. It should not be and after the fact. I know there are these acute incidents that are happening that can actually, unfortunately, consume a life immediately. But also, we must manage exposure to chronic life effects after the fact. What I'm talking about right now is silicosis. Some of these excavations, I've seen a few videos of these excavations where respirable silica, you can actually see it with your eyes. And I know you're not supposed to see silica with your eyes under normal circumstances, but depending on the angle of the camera, you can actually see respirable dust in some of these excavations. These have lifelong impact on the miners way after they've finished mining. So all of these risks have to be mitigated. Let's put our heads together. We have Zambians from all walks of life that can actually make mining safe in Zambia. Yes, we want to mine 3 million tons of copper a year in 10 years. But what? Guess what? We have to do it safely. We need to mine 3 million safe tons of copper every year. Safety needs to happen now. The 3 million tons can wait. Safety cannot. God bless the Republic of Zambia. Bye-bye now.